Hey everyone, and welcome back to Gearbox. In the last episode, or last week's episode as of this video, I quickly went over some of the changes I did to the Jeep-like SUV, and then I went and did one of the, instruction build things, where it gives you the instructions and you build the thing, kind of like Lego. It's one thing I really like about this game, is it's just like building Lego. Either way, in that video, I briefly mentioned that I shortened the hood like I wanted to, and did a couple other things. Can't remember exactly what I mentioned, but I'm going to go over everything that I've changed since the actual build videos. So, starting off with what I just mentioned, I shortened the hood by one block, because it was a little too long. If you look at the wheel, it hung over the front a little too far, and it looked a little weird. So I shortened the hood a little bit, looks a lot better. Can't remember if it had fenders in the last video or not, but it has fenders and stuff now. I think I put these on in a video, I'm not sure. But get the job done, and they don't look too bad. I have to... oh, using the right tool would help. In the cowl, I have put a solar panel, and then I've put two in the roof. So with the roof on, it'll charge the batteries in the sun, and then if you decide to take the roof off, you can still charge the batteries, but it doesn't charge as fast. Not a huge deal. And my nose is a little stuffy, so kind of bear with me. Another thing I changed was the orientation of these two gears. It used to be so that the big one powered the little one, so that from here to the beginning of the gearbox was a 1-to-1, even though it comes down. But now, it has a reduction, an 8-tooth to a 16-tooth twice. So if I pull out my calculator really quick, do this really quickly. So we want to figure out a gear ratio between two gears. You do 8 divided by 16 in this case. You do the teeth of driven one, like the main powered one, divided by the teeth of the one that it is powering. So this is a half ratio, since it's 8 and 16. So that means by the time it gets down to the gearbox, it has been reduced by half. So every time this turns, or a quarter, sorry. Every time this turns once, this one down here turns a quarter. Moving on from there, bring it up a little bit, I added a gearbox, which I don't think was in the last episode. I was just kind of working on it. So I will pull the body off really quick and show that. So as you can see, we've got the big, nice torquey motor. Oops, I won't turn that off. Set for max torque and RPM. And then we basically increase the torque by 75% down here, and then it goes into the gearbox, which is my 3-speed. It's right here. So simple 3-speed. First gear is a 3.375 to 1 ratio. Second is 1-to-1, and then third is 0.296 to 1. So first is an underdrive, gives it more torque. Second, gives it the same amount of torque that it's getting through here. And then third has less torque but more speed. And then I just put a little stick coming up from the part that moves, so that you can see on the interior what gear it's in. And then this is just like a little lever for the 4-wheel drive. Simply, there's the rear drive shaft there. Gearbox comes out here, down into this gear, which at this point it's back to a 1-to-1 like that used to be. And then off the rear drive shaft, there's like a idler gear kind of thing. And then this shaft slides forwards, attaches to this idler gear and this gear here, which then sends it out to the front. Simple four-wheel drive system. I used to use the clutch gears, but they slip after a certain amount of torque, like in the differential. So I have a clutch gear to lock it. It doesn't lock it solid, because it's a clutch. By the way, did I mess this up? No, okay. I was trying to see which gear the clutch gear was on. I have a normal gear on the differential now, which goes to this shaft, which has a brake on it, so there is extra braking power on top of the wheel brakes. I will show why in a few minutes. And then rear drive shaft, batteries. I wanted to put more batteries in it, but I can't. Well, I can with this version. I can put one of the big batteries on top, but you'll see why I've got just two smaller ones. And then rear drive shaft, rear axle, wonderful stuff. Rear sway bar. And then the sway bar disconnect, the piston just pushes these gears out of place, which disconnects the two sides of the sway bar. Simple. Let's grab the body again. Grab it by here. Take it back on the chassis, like so. And then go inside and make sure this red block here does not have that, or else it won't shift. I also now have to reconnect the dashboard, but oh well. Let's do that really quickly. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so as I said, inside it now has like little shift lever kind of things to display what gear it's in, and then the drive line status, whether it's in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, first, second, or third gear. I still plan on putting a armrest center console thingy in the back, but I haven't gotten to that yet. I've added door handles. That one's not locked as it should be. On the inside and the outside, I've added little nameplates. It's now called the Peach. Jeep backwards. On Beam NG Drive, I called my variant of the Hopper Turbo's Peach, and this is Turbo's Peach, so yeah. Lots of rear storage space. Everyone that's followed along with the build will have seen like the interior and most of the stuff. And that's pretty much all I've changed. License plates. And then I had to change the skid plates around a little bit when I changed the driveline, but that's not a really big deal. Oh, I also added little body mounts, because why not? Gotta have body mounts. I wanted this thing to have as much detail as I could get on it, and I'm pretty happy with it. It drives pretty well for using, WASD. If I used my controller, it would drive much better. I would like to change the sway bars to the style that I make in Scrap Mechanic, which is... Here's the kit car. This is the car I built in the last episode. I then went and built this one, which I will do a video on at some point. Either way, I would like to do the sway bars on the Peach the way these work. So here's the sway bar. It comes up from the arm, and then we've got the typical, connector arm that goes forwards and back. And then we have springs, coilovers, that just kind of float there, so when the suspension goes up and down like normal, this can just go up and down like normal, but when the body rolls, it puts tension or a torsion on these. This one will go up, this one will go down, for example. And of course, the springs will resist that motion and work as a sway bar. And then same with in the front, but I will go over this thing in another video. So aside from that, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm not sure if I did it on camera or off camera, but I also moved the steering over onto this side of the chassis instead of the outside. And then I put on these. Just like little fender liner kind of things, inner wheel wells. Either way, that's what I did with the main version. If you have a good eye, you might have noticed that there are more now. While I was building this one, I always had a two-door version in the works, and it was always just kind of sitting there, and I updated the two-door as I worked on the four-door. Two-door is exactly the same as the four-door, but it's two doors. And then the skid plate's a little bit different just because of facing. And then this is why the four-door only has the two battery packs, because in the two-door version, that's all they can fit. And even two don't really fit. There's only one in this one. Which kind of sucks, but oh well. Not a huge deal, especially in free roam. It doesn't matter. It doesn't use the power. And then I took these versions and put portal axles on them. The portal axles are another thing I was working on while I was working on that, just for fun. And these are a lot of fun. They take the already dropped gear ratios and drop it even more. There's an 8-tooth and a 24-tooth gear, so whatever that is, I don't feel like doing the math for that right now. But aside from that, it's the exact same still. Same axles, it just has portals on it. So it's tall with big wheels. And then there's the four-door version with portals. Another thing I think I might have done off camera was put the front sway bar on a bit of an angle. And this just stops it from glitching out when the suspension drops all the way. And then, after these were all built and finished, or mostly finished, I got a little carried away and ended up making this one. This one has independent front suspension. It's just a quick rough draft, whatever it needed to get working and drivable. Sway bar is a bit shorter on the upper link, but this link is roughly the same length, I think. It doesn't have a locker in the front, but those lockers don't really work anyways. Just an open differential with the same thing for the brakes. Oh, I also quickly forgot to mention, this brake here on top of the axle is for when the portals are on it, mainly, because these wheels don't have a brake option. So I needed a different brake rather than relying on the motor brake. Either way, for this one, I simply just took same Jeep, Siege, whatever, with all the same stuff, same gearbox and everything, and then shortened the drive shaft and put a little subframe under the front with independent suspension stuff, and then connected all of the steering in a spaghetti kind of way. Oh, that's not connected at the moment. That should be connected. I'll go through and fix stuff after. Either way, just simple, typical independent suspension stuff. Nothing all that amazing. Works nicely. It's lagging so bad because I have so many spawned right now. And then I moved on to this one, which is kind of like a Baja-ish style race version. Actually, that's not the one I moved on to first. I moved on to this one. This one has the independent suspension. Okay, so here we can see the suspension is painted. It has bump stops. And then, pretty much it. I also had to do this little gear thingy to get the gearing onto this side so it would spin properly. Because on the other side it was going backwards. By the way, from that version to this version, I added bump stops on the front. Nothing else is really different chassis-wise, suspension-wise, until we get to the back, where it has a short trailing arm four-link with bump stops. Same main axle, but trailing arms. Sway bars are the same. Actually, no. Sway bars are lengthened by one block for the extra suspension travel, But other than that, it's the same axle, same sway bars, whatever. And then I changed the body a bit. It now has a brute style roof, which will pop off because, you know, Jeep and modular. It has a light bar, just a simple low profile light bar. It has the solar panels on it still. They all have the solar panels. And then in the back doors are now non-working in a sense. If you could walk up and open it by hand, it would work, but there's no servo on it anymore, so it just stays in one spot. And then I've got a toolbox, nice big toolbox, air compressor, and then spare tires. On the fenders, there are also spare drive shafts. Yeah, just a nice little kind of Baja off-road style version. Got your safety lights up top and your third brake light. This one is still a work in progress. There's still more I want to add. I had to do a little bit of chassis work to this one so I could move the springs and whatnot and do the 4-link. But aside from that, it's also pretty much the same. It's fairly different, but pretty much the same. I'll drive this one in a minute. And then after I built this one, I decided to do one with a solid front axle. So this one is the exact same as the one I just showed, except it has the solid front axle that I use for them, as you can see. Because why not? It doesn't have bump stops yet, but I'm working on it. And then I decided that because I actually quite like the Brute Jeeps, I don't really like the Gladiator. It's way too much of a truck for my liking for Jeep-wise, at least the new Gladiators. I like the Brutes quite a bit. They keep the short wheelbase. Depending on the door variant, you can have a short or long wheelbase. But they keep the short approach and departure angles, whereas the Gladiator has a bunch of hangover on the back. But either way, this one I did start building out of this, and then I realized it would just be much, much easier to start off with the normal variant. So I restarted with one of the blue ones. Come on, I'm trying to fix the dash while I talk. So I started off with one of the blue ones, swapped out the roof. This is the same roof as that one, except it doesn't mount. It's kind of locked into place. I removed... Oh, that's also supposed to be black. Not black, gray. Other gray. There we go. Okay, either way. I removed the rear seats, the rear doors, just put a little filler panel in, and then made it into a truck. Raised the sides a little bit, raised the tailgate, and turned it into a truck, because why not? And aside from this back piece, it's completely the same. Still has the roll cage, same axles, everything. So, I'm going to get rid of a couple of them. I will do repairs and little fixes that I need to do after. Get rid of that one. And this one. Okay, so, if you've been watching the build series, you've likely seen this drive already. Got a decent steering lock. It could be a bit better, but that's as much as I can seem to get out of it. I've played with the settings on the servo. This is pretty much max speed in first. It goes 14 kilometers an hour in first. Then if I put it into second, it'll go up to about 50, I believe. 45 to 50. And then third should go upwards of 100 or 120, I'm not sure. Oh, it might go up to like 130. But, as you can see, it's quite unstable at higher speeds. Which is another reason why I put the gearbox in it, is better speed control. So, try this again. You can see how, because of the way the sway bars are, they aren't the greatest, and it tips a lot, and then that happens. Oops. From it tipping it and having straight axles, as it leans, the wheels on the side that it's leaning to become closer or further apart, the way I did this, and then the ones on the other side become closer, making it turn like a skateboard. So I really need to figure out the sway bars. But aside from that, this works really good in my opinion. And I go over the bumps, jump. It handles pretty much everything I've thrown at it. It even goes up and down the hills over there. Like, pretty much no problem, as long as you keep in mind the sway bars and it's top heavy. Another thing, when I was building it in the first place, the body was all plastic. I changed the body to aluminum to make it more accurate. The chassis is steel, and the body is aluminum. And then I think the hood is, or the roof is either plastic or aluminum as well. It's plastic. Good. I think in real life they're fiberglass. Either way, onto the portals. Like I said, this one's pretty much the exact same, except I removed the front fender, put portal axles on it, and moved the front axle forwards by a block so that it would actually fit. And in first gear, we are now down to 6 miles an hour. Like half. It's so slow. And second gear, a little bit faster. And third gear. And then the suspension handles the same, because it's the same. However, that red one over there, wiggle wiggle. By the way, the red one right there is the actual, like, race version. So it's the one that I've been trying to make handle and perform the best I can. Let's take this for a quick spin. And with the independent front suspension, it has much better stability. I can actually drive it around without it rolling. It does pick up a wheel going around corners, but that's to be expected with this style suspension, and with a Jeep. But, oops, and it does roll now and then. Usually I can catch it, but sometimes I don't. Wrong seat. The doors do still get stuck closed, but whatever. But yeah, this one is much better. As I said, it has longer travel suspension, it has bump stops, it also has the gears. These gears, the way I originally planned them to be. So, from here to the beginning of the gearbox is a 1-to-1, instead of stepped down by like half or a quarter. So it's quite a bit faster, and even though it has less overall torque, it still climbs hills amazingly. So this is max in first, it's 55 instead. This one will do like 200 kilometers an hour. Over 100 in first, like 100 and... wow. I didn't realize how fast that was. I need to move the screen over here so you can actually read it. And then, I'm a little nervous to go into third right now, so I'm not going to. Like, we're here already. There's no need to. Yeah, it... at the moment, handles pretty good. I also slowed down the steering servos. That's probably one reason why I can't catch it as easy when it tries to roll. Oh, there we go. Is the steering is really slow. But I did that for when it's going fast, so... But as you can see, it still just powers up these hills, no problem. I had it way up there earlier. Or yesterday, sorry. And then, I'm still working on the toolbox. As you can see, it doesn't like to open. So I need to kind of figure out the hinge on it, but it gets the point across. But yeah, that is the Peach so far, and all its different variants. Once I'm happy with them, once I feel they're completely done, there's no more work I can really do, like that metal light not working. It was working before. By the way, once I have all these variants, how I like them, and once I feel like there's nothing else I can do with them, I will upload them to the workshop. All I ask is, like, typical no re-uploading and whatnot. If you want to look at it and rebuild it yourself, you can upload it and so on because you built it. But whatever. Same rules I've always had with my creations on Scrap Account. Don't re-upload my stuff, but if you rebuild it, it's your creation. You built it. Like, give me credit for the design or something. Either way, I don't think there's really anything else to show. I will, now that I'm thinking of it, mention something really quick regarding the drive shafts. I did try doing an extending drive shaft, or like a slip yoke eliminator style drive shaft, where normally with these CV joints, this piece can move a little bit. Kind of weird. It shouldn't, but it can. If I go like this, you can kind of see it moving a little bit. It's kind of weird. But in some cases it doesn't move enough. Like with this, it needed slip yokes, or slip yoke eliminators, which I had the big square ones. If you haven't seen the video on this, I recommend checking it out. My first 8x8 on Gearbox. I'll put a link if I can remember to, by the way. So I tried using the tubes instead. Just the cylinder made small. And it works. Except in the Jeep, it seemed to have an issue with the torque, and it would glitch out really bad. I'll see if I can put a clip in or something, but either way. So yeah. I don't really know what to say about this. There are a few little changes that I still want to do, like the sway bars and stuff like I mentioned, but aside from that, they're pretty much done. I will put a video up before or just after I upload them, post them to the workshop. But aside from that, this is what I've got so far. A bunch of awesome Peaches. Sounds so weird saying Peach instead of Jeep, but whatever. So yeah, if you have any tips or tricks or anything you want me to check out, any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below. Yeah, other than that, as always, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.